Last episode, I won $30,000 playing at the lodge.
There's the heart. How hot is Sam Queso? And Sam Queso is getting everything he wants today.
My gosh, in for 2K at 30K. Sammy boy.
But today, I have the chance to win over 100 times that. I'm playing in the WPT Championship, where first place takes home over $3 million. There's only one problem. I've never played in a poker tournament in Vegas in my entire life. But if I run as good as I did at the lodge, I should be able to win it all. So let's lock in and let's go to Vegas. All right, boys, we made it to the hotel room, but I didn't come here to stay in the hotel room. I came here to win some money, but the question is, do I go to the poker table or the blackjack table first? I'm gonna flip this card. If it lands on MGM, we're going to the poker table. If it lands on checkout, we're going to the blackjack table. Here we go. Let's go play some blackjack. The plan was to buy in for $1,000, but since I was making a video with the On Tilt boys, Nick said everyone has to buy in for $2,000. So I pulled another $1,000 and put it on the table. I've never bought in for more than $500 on a blackjack table in my life. I'm starting with 4 times more than that. I'm nervous, I'm not gonna lie. My first 4 hands are horrible. I lose 50, then another 50, then 100, and then 150. Just like that. In 3 minutes, I'm down $350. It takes me 5 minutes before I finally win a hand. A few hands later, I finally get a chance to win some money back. I get dealt a 10 against the dealer's 7. I double down, the dealer ends up with an 18, and I flip an 8. So we push. Then 5 minutes later, I get another chance to win some money back. I get dealt another 10, and once again, the dealer has a 7. I double down, the dealer ends up with a 17, but this time, I flip a deuce, and we get scooped for $300. For the next 15 minutes, I proceed to win a few hands, lose a few hands, and by the time we're on our last hand of the night, I'm down almost $700. On our very last hand, I put out $325. My first card is an 8, followed by another 8. The dealer has a 9. I'm supposed to split here. I slide out another $325. The dealer gives me another 8. I have to split again. I put out another $325. My fourth card is a deuce, which means I'm supposed to double down on that hand. So this hand went from a $325 hand to a $1,300 hand. If I lose, I'll be down $2,000. On my first hand, I asked for the third card to be face down. On my second hand, I end up with a 20. On my third hand, I bust. Dealer, just bust so I can break even and never play blackjack ever again. Let's go! We're even! So after all that stress, I end up losing $25, and I'm not mad about it. It's a lot better than losing $2,000.
Minus 25. We survived. Thank you.
All right, boys, today's the day. I'm playing in my first ever poker tournament in Vegas, and it's the WPT Championship, which is a $10,400 buy-in. Now, it's full of pros, but I'm running hot. I'm on a heater, so we should do fine. Let's lock in. So I get all the way to the poker room at the Wynn. I'm looking around at the tournament area and I'm like, This looks kind of small. How are they going to fit all these people here? That's because the tournament's not over there. They have like 50 signs that tell you that. So I follow those signs, and I finally find the ballroom where the tournament is going to take place. Then I take my $10,400 to the cage, give it to them in exchange for a ticket. That ticket has my table number and my seat number. I enter the ballroom, and I find my seat. Here we go. Everyone starts with 100,000 in chips. The blinds are 300, 500 with the 500 big blind ante, which means we'll all have 200 big blinds to start. My table looks great. There's only 6 of us right now, but there's a lot of talking going on. To my knowledge, people are usually dead silent with sunglasses on and a hoodie that has some type of poker logo on it to show everyone that they know what they're doing. Within the first orbit, I'm dealt ace-5 of clubs, open to 1,500 and get 2 callers. I completely whiff the flop, but when it checks to me, I see bet for 3,000. Only the big blind calls. The turn is a king, and he checks. I decided to go crazy my first hand and put in a big bluff right off the bat. I bet 12,000. He folds. We take down our first hand of the tournament. For the next 45 minutes, I basically win every single hand. They're all tiny pots, but they're huge for my confidence. 20 minutes into level 2, I pick up king 10 in the cutoff. The +1 makes it 1,300. I call. We go 4 ways to a flop, and it comes 8-4-8 rainbow. Action checks through on the flop. The turn gives us top pair. Action checks to me. I bet 2,000. Only the big blind calls. We're heads up to a river, and it's a 4. The big blind checks. I feel like he has a worse 10 here. I bet 6,500. He thinks about it and calls. I show my hand, and he mucks. We're only an hour and a half into the tournament, and we've gone from 100,000 in chips to 130,000 in chips. We're the chip leader. No, I'm just kidding. We're not even close. But this is an amazing start for us. Level 3 does not start off well for us. I try bluffing with Jack 10 and get called all the way down. I bluffed like 5 times in my whole life. Why I'm trying to bluff so much right now, I do not know. 2 hands later, I look down at King Queen of clubs. The player to my right opens to 1,600. He's been playing a lot of hands, and it feels like he's opening really wide. I 3-bet to 3,000. It folds to the button, and he puts in the 4-bet to 7,000. It folds back to me, and I put in the call. The flop comes king high. I check, and the button c-bets for 2,500. I call. The turn is a jack. I check again. This time, he checks it back. The river's a 3. Now, I don't want this river to check through, but this player had been playing extremely tight. There's still a chance he could have ace, king, or pocket aces and checked back the turn for pot control. I decided to play it safe and check. He checks it back. I show my hand, and we're good. We have around 115,000 in chips now. We've reached level 4. Blinds are now 500, 1,000. Right off the bat, I lose a medium-sized pot with ace-jack, but then I pick up ace-10 of clubs and under the gun. Open to 2,000. The cutoff 3-bets to 5,800. I call. The flop comes queen high with 2 clubs. We have the nut flush draw. I check, and he bets 5,000. I consider raising, but I don't want to face a re-raise and get blown off my equity, so I just call. The turn is a 4 of diamonds. I check again. This time he checks it back. The river couldn't be any better. It's the king of clubs giving us the nuts. The cutoff is going to connect with this king a lot, so we should call a decent sized bet. I make it 13,000. He folds. 15 minutes later, I dust off all my profit from that hand when I misclick while trying to put in the 3-bet with ace-jack. I don't make a pair, and I'm forced to fold to a river bet. Now, I really haven't played any big hands up to this point, but that's about to change. Right before level 4 is about to end, I'm on the button and look down at pocket aces. There's a raise from under the gun to 2,000 and a 3-bet from the hijack to 5,000. I have pocket aces. I'm putting in the 4-bet. I make it 12,000. Only the hijack calls, so we're heads up to a flop. It comes queen 6 deuce rainbow. My opponent checks. I c-bet for 8,000. He calls. The turn is a 10 of hearts, and he checks again. We lose the queens and pocket 10s, but we're ahead of jacks, kings, and ace queen. I don't think I can get 3 streets of value here unless he has kings, so I check it back. The river is a brick. My opponent checks for a 3rd time. I put out a big bet for 30,000. He snap calls. I show the aces, and he shows pocket kings. Where was the 5-bet preflop? We're taking down a pot of almost 105,000. But I can't help but feel like I should have this guy's entire stack. Our stack is over 150,000 now. But later tonight, I'll be putting this entire stack at risk. We have 2 more levels before our next break. I lose a medium-sized pot with pocket queens, but then I manage to make most of it back when I make the nut flush with the suited ace and get called on the river. Honestly, I was feeling great. I was settling in and I felt like I knew how most of the people at my table played. We make it to our second break of the day, but when I come back, they break our table. They send me to a new table and it doesn't look near as good. There's no talking. There's some pretty big stacks, and to top it off, there's a guy with the poker logo on his jacket. So there's a few pros and some big stacks at my new table. This is bad. After 30 minutes of being card dead, I pick up 9-10 of clubs in late position, open to 3,500. The small blind has a short stack and 3 bets to 15,000. I fold. Thankfully, that was the only hand we played before they move us tables again. I'm feeling relieved, honestly. Until I get to my next table. There aren't any crazy big stacks, but there's probably 7 pros and 2 amateurs. And I'm one of them. Things just went from bad to worse. My plan is to knit it up and hope they send me to a new table soon. That was the plan. There's really only one hand I kind of don't want to see right now. Ace King. A player opens a middle position of 4,000. He looks like a pro. I'm not just calling though. I 3-bet to 15,000. He calls. The pot's already over 30,000. The flop is straight garbage. My opponent checks. If I had a hand like kings or aces, I would still c-bet this flop. So let's play it like we have one of those hands. I bet 10,000. My opponent thankfully does not call, but he raises to 25,000. I guess I just didn't feel like getting changed for my 25K chip because I call. What am I doing? The turn is the 6 of diamonds. Everything gets there, and I have ace high. My opponent does not slow down at all. He goes all in. Now I fold. After paying some blinds and losing our first hand at our new table, we're down to 78,000 in chips. Thankfully, we make it to dinner break. I needed a mental break and was absolutely starving, so I went ahead and devoured this pizza. Now I'm ready to play some poker again. We have 4 more levels until we make day 2. I make my way back to the ballroom. Find my seat. I'm locked in. My very first hand back from dinner break, I pick up Ace King. The same guy who just beat me in the last hand opens to 5,000. I re-raise to 12,000. He calls. We're heads up once again, but this time, there's no way I'm losing. The flop comes Queen Jack 4. I have 2 overs and a gut shot. That's all I need to start unloading the clip. He checks. I c-bet for 8,500, hoping to just take down the pot on the flop. That doesn't happen. He calls. The turn is no help at all, but my opponent checks again. It feels like this guy has a read on me. He knows I don't have crap. I should probably just check it back. But I didn't fly all the way to Vegas to play like a scared little puppy. No, screw that. I'm willing to put max pressure on these pros, and I don't care if they catch me bluffing. This is probably a horrible mindset. I don't care. I put out 1 green chip worth 25,000. He's in the tank. Don't you look at me. I'm like a statue right now, except my heart's beating out of my chest and I'm probably dripping sweat. He knows I'm willing to put in the rest of my stack on the river. The question is he willing to call? Nope, he folds. We get the bluff through and I can feel the heater coming. Our stack is back over 100,000. But then I lose 2 small pots with some suited aces, and I'm right back down to around 85,000. That's still plenty of chips for me to work with, though. But I don't want to just get into day 2 barely scraping by. No, I want to run up a huge stack tonight. I'm going to need some good hands in order to do that. Ace Queen will do. There's a raise from middle position to 5,000 and a call. I 3-bet to 16,000. Only the initial raiser calls. This guy barely covers me. We could end up playing for stacks this hand. The flop is not what I was hoping for. My opponent checks. I c-bet for 13,000, just praying this guy folds. He doesn't. When he calls my c-bet, I'm certain he has a pocket pair, but the question is, how good is it? We're gonna need some help here on the turn. It doesn't come. My opponent checks again. This isn't a good card for me to bluff on, but there's one thing I do have going for me. I 3-bet pre-flop, which means I'm gonna have all the queens, kings, and aces in my range. Even if he has a hand like pocket tens or pocket jacks, I don't think he'll be willing to call off for his tournament life. You don't make it far in these tournaments without making some moves and trusting your gut. My gut's telling me to put max pressure on this guy. I'm going with my gut. I go all in for $54,000. We fade the snap call, which means our assessment was right. He's in the tank. My heart is pounding. Feels like the whole room is dead silent. And it's just me and him playing this pot for our tournament lives. I need this guy to fold. Please just fold. He calls. My heart sinks. He flips over pocket sevens. I'm in disbelief. We still have 6 live outs. If there was ever a time I needed a suck out, it's right here and right now. Dealer, one time.
All right, y'all. Good luck, everyone. All right, man.
I might have just punted. Gosh. I literally put him on pocket tens or pocket jacks. I thought he would fold. I have all the queens, kings, and aces in my range, so I jammed thinking he would fold because he barely covered me. So that was basically for his tournament life. Definitely didn't think he was going to call off with pocket sevens, but props to that guy. What a call. Comment below, though. Was that a punt? Be real. Let me hear it. I can handle it. Just don't run me up too bad. But comment below, okay? Now, if you think the Vegas trip is over, you're wrong. Shut your mouth. Tomorrow, I'm going to get some crazy cash game content for you guys, guaranteed. So until then, stay locked in. Peace.